Hello, humans. It's time to party. It's Rob here with Not a Robot Podcast's DC Comics Review Show number 130, the world's greatest comic show about the world's greatest superheroes. And with me, as always, is Josh.
Howdy, howdy. Just to make sure everyone's aware, I'm not superstitious. I'm just regular stitious.
Then what's understitious? Is that
You'd have to ask Tim Drake.
Oh no. Okay, yeah, that's the kind of humor you find on this show.
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't one of my greater ones.
Yeah, so it's just so you know, if you ever want to complain about humor like that, especially that joke, feel free to get in touch with us and send us an email complaining about it to comics@notarobotpodcast.com, and you can tweet at us saying that joke was horrible at notarobotcomics, and you can't really I guess you could send an IM on Instagram. Wow, I just dated myself. A DM on Instagram at NAR Comic Books. And if you feel like supporting us, visit buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcasts, where you get access to our Discord server where you can chat with us and other fans about all things geek. What the hell were we talking about this week? We were talking about a lot of stuff.
We definitely were.
I can't
as far as writing in and telling me that joke was horrible, I mean, you don't have to do it today.
No.
You could do it tomorrow, but my personal motto is never put off till tomorrow what you can put off to the day after that.
There you go.
Well, fuck you then. Sorry, that one was really loud.
As they say, procrastinators unite.
Tomorrow.
So I called out at the beginning of the show, it's a bit of a party, and I've been waiting for this number for a long time. I was really hoping Brandon would be with us today because this marks 100 episodes since Brandon and I joined the show.
Holy cow, it's been 100 episodes already.
Yeah. Time freaking flies, eh?
Oh yeah. That's awesome, man.
Feels
well, happy anniversary.
I know. Thank you.
Right? Your 100th episode. Yeah, for sure. Your 100th episode ties in with Nightwing's 100th issue.
Fancy that, eh?
Hey, I can't believe Brandon missed this opportunity.
The stars align.
Yep.
That's
if anybody has any, could somebody lend Brandon a few extra hours out of their day? The kid could need some.
Yeah. Yeah. We call him the Flash, but even the Flash can only go so fast.
Yeah, that's why I call him Barry Allen, because no matter how fast he is, he always late.
Yeah, and we will find out just how fast or slow the Flash can be later on today when we look at our books, which include GCPD The Blue Wall number 4, Monkey Prince number 10, Stargirl The Lost Children number 3, Batgirls number 14, The New Champion of Shazam number 4, Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton, Batman Superman World's Finest number 11, The Flash number 791, and as already stated, Nightwing number 100, as well as some honorable mentions. But as always, before we get into that, we'll get into some news. What's going on with you, Josh? Anything exciting?
Oh, no. I wish I could say yes, but it has just been absolutely boring over here.
Yeah.
Really. The highlight of my news is that I was finally able to get the brace for my foot. I've got what they call drop foot. I can't lift it back up since I started having seizures. That went away, and I finally got a brace, so I'm not tripping over the floor anymore. Now there actually has to be something there. That was the highlight of my week this week.
Which that's a big highlight. That's an exciting thing.
Oh, it is because
Yeah.
I've fallen in the last almost 3 years now. I've fallen about 100 times, so
Oh, jeez.
my body will appreciate it, and
That's good.
I'll be able to stop looking down at my body and going, "How the hell did that bruise get there?" Because I forget that I fell.
Oh yeah. I sometimes these things even just happen. Like I get bruises from
Oh
my
yeah,
job all the
sometimes.
time and cuts, and I get home like, the hell cut me? I didn't even feel this. But yeah, it kind of just happens. Uh, I mean, little nicks, like a paper cut size, not like my arm sliced open. If that's
Yeah.
what you're thinking.
No, not
Yeah.
sliced open, but I've been cut. I've been bruised. Fell down the stairs a couple of times. So that's what lended me to moving downstairs. But
Yeah.
yeah, falling sucks. Glad I'm gonna do it less
That's good. Congrats.
now.
Yeah.
How about you? Anything newsworthy going on in Rockville?
Not particularly. Just continuing
Rob
my.
Terrio.
Oh, what was the old Ontario slogan? Shoot. I can't remember. Um, yeah, just been continuing my read through of everything Green Lantern from the Silver Age onwards. A little slow. I'm finally at issue 13, where he teams up with the Flash for the first time.
Sweet.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that. The last issue I read, issue 12, I sent you a screenshot of it. Uh, Hal Jordan, his ring is about to die, and he's surrounded by goons, three goons that are about to shoot him. He's got 5 seconds till his power ring runs out of power, and he says, "This may be my 0 hour." And as I stated, hate to tell you, Hal, it's
Mm,
not your only 0 hour. There is
yeah,
another.
there is another.
There's so much, like, if people in the 60s could see the future, the Silver Age is just chock full of foreshadowing. Just accidental foreshadowing. I think it's fantastic. Man, this makes me
Oh
want to go
yeah.
through other Silver Age books, but that's a big um, commitment that I just don't have time for. So yeah,
I hear you there, man.
yeah, the Flash looks fun, but we'll see how that goes. Uh, yeah. Apart from that, a couple things in the comics world. Bit of sad news. There is a comic shop in Garneau, Edmonton, Wizards Comics, recently was broken into, and $40,000 worth of comic books, Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon cards were stolen, including stock that's not even theirs because they participate in a program where people can come into the shop with their own stuff, put it behind the glass case, and sell it, and then the shop gets a cut of the profits. So they kind of split it, but even that stuff got stolen. So who friggin' knows what's gonna happen? Josh, can we pause for a sec?
I see that is. I'm assuming that's. I think I know what that's about, and we can just go ahead and keep on going here. Let me hand him that.
Right on. Sorry, I didn't know how to. I wasn't sure if that was in my our personal chat or in the group chat. Uh, if you were able to timestamp that.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
in the 514. It was in the group chat.
Okay.
Anyway, Brandon may be showing up here in a minute. But back to the news you were talking about.
Yes. So yeah, so that has happened. I just lost the friggin' article. Yeah, so that's a shame that it's a damn shame, really, that shit like that's happening. And in the article I read, where Wizards Comics was broken into, it comes a week after another LCS in Brantford, Ontario, which is maybe an hour away from me. Capt Can Comics was broken into, and they had over $80,000 worth of merchandise stolen. So
Fucking insane and
it
so
is
sorry,
insane.
man.
It's ridiculous. And even I think I mentioned last time I talked about this years ago. The LCS down the street from my house was broken into and stuff was stolen, but the robbers had no clue what they were taking because just like dollar bin stuff was taken and that was it. It's insane.
It is insane. And like I
Yeah.
mentioned in our Discord, man, it's heartbreaking because at the end of the line, no one opens up a comic shop with hopes of getting rich. They do
No.
it because it's something that they love, and I mean, there are some that have no problems meeting, keeping themselves in the black as far as money goes, but a lot of comic shops are just barely scraping by. To have the balls to go and steal somebody's entire livelihood like that makes me want to remove them for you.
Yeah. It's a damn shame. And before we get into my next article, hello, Brandon.
Hello, hello.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome. Sorry, we went ahead without you for a few minutes. I did want to mention to you, in case you didn't know, this episode marks 100 episodes since we joined the show, eh?
Oh wow, it has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. As I stated, time friggin' flies. So it's a bit of a party day today. I would say. But before we get to that party,
Your 100th episode coincides with Nightwing's 100th issue, Brandon. I say that is
fate.
quite serendipitous.
Exactly.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
fate. It is fate indeed.
it's perfect.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I had to run downtown relative to where I am. I had to pick up some. Well, I don't know if I should say this on the air, but I'll say it off the air. It does pertain to comics, but I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
Oh. No problem
Okay.
there. Gotcha. Yeah, so the next article I had, which I read today, but apparently the news broke yesterday and I didn't hear about it. So Comixology, we all know Comixology, how Amazon acquired it recently in the past year or two. Well, Amazon's
messed
been
it all up.
going through some layoffs, and Comixology has layoffs in the estimates percentile of anywhere between 50 to 100% of the staff have been laid off.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they buy this company, shit on it, and then lay off most of the staff.
If not all the staff.
It's
wow.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Comixology used to be such a good platform too.
It's a damn shame.
It really is.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's
there that goes.
That's the two bits of news I have. Sorry that it's so somber. We have comic book shops getting broken into and Comixology is going down the drain even more. Happy anniversary. But what's going on in your neck of the woods though, Brandon? You got any exciting things going on? Any news?
Nothing too exciting really. It's been a little busy on my end, but just the normal school, work, life stuff, which is nice. I got I think I posted on the Discord a little while back. As a Christmas gift, I got the Invisibles omnibus.
Oh yeah.
The Grant Morrison series, The Invisibles, and I've had that for a little while. I haven't really gotten a chance to crack it open, but that's kind of been my next big achievement whenever I get the motivation to do that. But aside from that, nothing too major.
I would be looking forward to cracking that open, but I would be, what's the right word?
Scared?
It daunting. It's a daunting task to take that down, Brandon. So
Big book.
I wish you all the luck, and I'm sending as much strength and willpower to you as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've read the first 12 issues because I had the first volume because the Vertigo put out like 4 complete volumes a little while ago, and I got the first one a while back, and it was good, but I didn't really have the motivation to finish it. But this one was like, okay, now it's all in one big book, so now I really don't have an excuse to stop. So I've started a little bit, but I might just, reread those first 12 issues again just to kind of give myself a reminder. But yeah, no, it is a daunting one. And they have like
Yeah.
they have a book. I forget if it was Tim Callahan or someone else, but it was like the Invisible's Guide to Anarchy, which is basically like how to explain the entire book. And I'll probably end up buying that as well, just so I can understand a lot of the references.
Oh yeah, because you can't read it first, or else you'll get nothing but spoilers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like one of those Bibles that have all the coinciding verses and explanations that are over in the corner.
Essentially, yeah. It's like pretty much the Invisibles for Dummies book, which, well, again, will probably be needed at certain points, I'm sure. But that's pretty much all I got.
That the size of that book reminds me, years ago at Fan Expo, my dad bought the Marvel's Omnibus. The Marvel Zombies Omnibus.
Infamous. Oh my
it's
god.
Massive. It broke the handle on his messenger bag that he was carrying.
Yeah. No, I believe it. I can't believe he was lugging that thing around a convention. I would have broke my damn back.
He bought it near the end of the day. So.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember at New York Comic Con, most recently, I had like all these books that I was bringing to get signed, and after a certain point, I literally had to go to the. They have like I guess like a bag check area where you can drop off your stuff, and I told my friend, I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore, like I gotta put this down because it's killing me, because I had like every single hardcover I wanted to get signed, and my back was in serious pain. So yeah, that's why I was like, oh my god, I can't imagine walking around the show floor with that big omnibus.
Yeah, I feel that pain too that you're describing, because in my Dollarama trips, I've come home with maybe 7 hardcovers in my backpack, and my back is killing by the time I get home.
That's the thing. It's like you forget, like you buy all these books and you're like, oh man, this is so great, and then you put them in your bag, and it's like an hour later, and you're like, oh god, no,
why didn't I bring a wheelbarrow?
I know, this was such a mistake. It was such a mistake. Yeah, I've had several book runs that are like that. I'm just like, no, why did I do this?
If you ever need to, you just stop at a park bench, take a break, and read for an hour. You won't be bored.
I've done that on occasion where I'm just like, I gotta sit down. I gotta sit down. This is too much.
Yeah, it's fun, but painful.
It is a labor of love.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, I say we get into our honorable mentions, and that is honorable with a U. Damn it, I'm the host. I can say that.
All right, so the honorable mentions, which I am honored, without the U, to mention. Titans United, Blood Pact, Black Adam 7. Blood Pact is less than appetizing to me. Black Adam 7 is a good book if you're into it. I could easily see how people aren't. Fables rocks. I don't know how anybody couldn't like that one. Batman Fortress number 8. This issue was actually okay. It was pretty good, and I've been pooping on it lately. And Batman One Bad Day, Bane. That is the one that I did not get a chance to get to this week. But if it's super duper bad or super duper good, I'll come back and let y'all know.
Is that the last of the One Bad Day one-shots?
That I could not tell you.
I feel like it is. I'll look into that. I think it is,
okay,
but I could be wrong. Yeah. All right, yeah, so that is our honorable mention section for this week. There's a lot of books this week. A lot of freaking books. Man. Yeah. And we are going to do our best to get through them as quick as we can, starting with our quick bites section for the day. And first on the list is GCPD, The Blue Wall number 4, and Mr. Brandon is going to tell us about that one.
Sure. Yeah, this is GCPD The Blue Wall, written by John Ridley, with art from Stefano Raphael, colors from Brad Anderson, and a really nice cover from Reiko Murakami. This, I guess, really just kind of continues the story involving our 3 officers, Officer Ortega, Officer Park, and I forget the guy's last name, but Officer. Well, his first name is Eric. I remember that, but I don't remember. But he was the one who was basically trying to help the guy who was out on parole, but who ended up killing himself or self-sacrifice,
Yeah.
to say the least. But I forget his last name. In any case, we sort of continue our adventures with them, in as much as you can call them adventures. Really, they're more like nightmares. As Eric is resigning from the force, Officer Ortega is still trying to fit in with his department. He's getting a little bit more acceptance in the Tri-Corner area, though as we later discover in this issue, that is all a lie. And Officer Park is continuing her desk writing duties and discovering more about the nature of the GCPD as well. But in reality, the big twist at the end of this issue involves Officer Ortega, who, after really learning about the monsters that are serving alongside him on the Tri-Corner, decides to take, I guess, the GCPD into account for everything that he has gone through, and is now going into a more antagonistic role. It's probably the right word for it. But anyway, this continues to be a really excellent series. I don't remember if I was all caught up on this, but I'm caught up now, at least, and it's been a really great ride so far, just getting down and dirty into the nastier parts of the GCPD, which, obviously to anyone who's familiar with Batman knows the GCPD is rather infamous, but it's nice to get that sort of grounded approach, not through a superhero lens. And everyone's comparing the series to Gotham Central, and it definitely is, but I think approaching this from the beat cop level is what's giving it a bit of a different angle, which I think is really nice. So really strong series so far, and I'm excited to see how it all wraps up. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think what makes this one work so well is how normal people it is. You don't get any sense of anything being exaggerated or blown out of proportion just to make it more appealing. This is just real life shit put into a comic book. And I'm just sitting here reading this deeply personal story from Officer Ortega, the rest of the cast in the book too, but mostly him. And then to see him flip like that and go against the things that he believed in, I mean, holy kablow, Batman. It caught me way off guard, and I can't wait to get more. It's the art is great. I almost forgot to mention that. it was such a fantastic issue. I gave this a 9.25 out of 10. Never saw this coming.
I can second that. I did not see that coming at all. It's such a messed up final page. it's insane. But you're right. It's so rooted in real life. It really, it's almost depressing. It's crazy. Fantastic issue, fantastic series. 8.75 out of 10 for this one. Art is also fantastic.
Indeed.
So that will now take us on over to something a little more out there, not out there into space, but out there in terms of superheroics. It's Monkey Prince number 10, and Josh is going to tell us what's going on with Marcus today.
Indeed, I will. It is written by Jean Wing Yang. Art is Bernard Chang's. Colors is Marcelo Mialos. And Wes Abbott did the letters with Chang and Mialo on the cover together. We are outside of Metropolis. Supergirl thinks Monkey Prince is with Ultra Humanite, who happens to have a kryptonite weapon, until he jumps in front of the kryptonite missile to save her, getting his bottom half blown off in the process, which he promptly puts on backwards. Before they take out Ultra Humanite's gun, and then it starts raining green, and the gun gets fixed by the rain before they knock out Ultra Humanite. Supergirl, that is. Supergirl hears cries for help from all over the city. She takes off while Monkey Prince is supposed to stay with Ultra Humanite. Apparently that doesn't happen because Monkey Prince goes hoping to find out his grandpa Gerard is Ultra Humanite. While Supergirl sees the people of Metropolis turned into monsters, her powers are going on and off. Monkey Prince shows up to help. Ultra Humanite's plan is to wake up the ancient monkey god to have him be a slave to Ultra Humanite. Supergirl calls him back up, though, and what she gets is Cyborg, Blue Beetle, Shazam, as in Mary Marvel, Blue Devil, Zatanna, and Power Girl. Now that is some backup. The art is always great in this book, always, and this was a great setup for whatever it is that they have planned for these peeps next. Like the book says, it is leading into the Lazarus Planet event, and seeing these characters together and the lead-in for it makes me a lot more excited than I was to get into Lazarus Planet. So, I gave this one, as silly as the moments were in some of them, which is kind of the charm of this book, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I dug it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. The silliness is the charm, and it's honestly what makes it such a sleeper hit for me. I love this book, and this is, I think, definitely an issue to check out for Lazarus Planet readers out there. If you're into that event, definitely check out this issue, even if you're not reading Monkey Prince as it is. You know at this point Monkey Prince is a big player in the event, so at least check out this issue. It's well worth your time. 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, this sounds like a good one. I mean, I haven't really been following Monkey Prince, and I didn't get a chance to read this one just because I'm behind on pretty much everything with Lazarus Planet, so I haven't really gotten a chance to read any of that. But your endorsements are giving me a reason to check it out, so I will try and catch up on that when I get a chance.
Right on.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah.
I feel like Monkey Prince it's either for you or it's not. And like the first couple issues, first issue I liked. Second, third, fourth issue I was a little iffy on. But then it picked right back up for me, man. But yeah, I definitely think it's one of those books where you're either going to enjoy it or you're gonna wonder what the fuck it is you just read, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the whole thing anyway, but it's probably a book that's for me, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I can appreciate the silly if it's in a silly book.
Exactly, like the Jurassic League. Which was fucking fantastic.
The Jurassic League's jokes were as bad as the first one I told on this podcast.
Which makes it
All
great.
right.
All right. So this is from one teenage hero going on to another. Not just another, many others. It's Stargirl, The Lost Children, number 3, and this is written by Jeff
Don't you mean
Johns.
Stargirl, The Loaf Children?
I saw that too.
I've been waiting for someone to pick up on my typo.
Yeah. And well, it was more the fact that you didn't
autocorrect.
correct it. Yeah,
Yeah.
more the fact you didn't correct it, which I thought was very funny. And I was
I-
like, is he pulling a little prank? A little joke? I couldn't tell.
The Loaf Children.
These
kids are so lazy.
Yeah.
They've been just chilling on this island for 80 years.
See, I was imagining they were like bread people, and these were just their bread children. But,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
we all have our
With-
own
with the-
imagination.
With a little bit of ketchup on top.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like ketchup, but not on bread. The hell?
No, not on meatloaf,
Oh.
which is what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. No, I typed it out. I sent it to the chat, and then maybe like half a day later, I realized my mistake, and I was like, "Oh, it's been like 6 hours. I'm not even gonna bother changing it." They've
Nope.
already seen my error. It was
It
all
gave me a little
autocorrect.
giggle.
Yeah, either that or my thumbs just hit the wrong keys. I don't know. Yeah, it's even written on my notes, The Loaf Children, because I just copy and pasted. I didn't even change it here. So yeah, Stargirl, The Loaf Children, number
Lazy
3
bastards.
is is written by Jeff Johns, with art from Todd Knock, colors from Matt Herms, and letters from Rob Lee. So Stargirl, now stuck on this mysterious island, is found by some of the missing children she is looking for, who then take her to the rest of the missing children she is still looking for, and then some that she did not expect to see at all. Meanwhile, Red Arrow is locked up in a castle of sorts by the creepy character, the Childminder, who warns of a hidden master. Emiko's cell neighbor has a plan to get them out as long as she can get off this treadmill she is stuck running on, as she is none other than Judy Garrick, Jay Garrick's daughter. So this issue was definitely, at least for me, it felt like a slow issue, but there were a lot of new characters to cover. So I'll give it a pass on the pacing. Uh, there was so many people. I was as surprised as Stargirl. There was so many characters to go into, but I'm all for it. Like I'm doubling down on this new Golden Age scenario. I think it's exciting. I think retroactively inserting these characters into DC history is not necessarily fun, but can be a very interesting twist. Um, I don't know. I'll see where it goes. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. I rather enjoyed it.
Yeah, no,
What did you
I'm
think,
still
Brandon?
really enjoying this story, and just digging into the lost sidekicks of the Golden Age, and it's like I said, or I guess like Rob said, it's not the most meaty of issues in terms of major revelations or huge plot beats or anything, but it's still a fun ride, and I think I'm just kind of enjoying that. And it's I don't know, it's just kind of fun and innocent, and tackling this generation of heroes that I really like. So I'm still having a fun time, and I can't believe we're already halfway through. So this one got an
Yeah.
8.25 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. I mean, we're halfway through this limited series, but if we're being honest, this story is going to span a while because
I
Jeff
hope
Johns is
so.
just rolling it over. But first, first, let me say that the Childminder looks like something out of Big Bird's worst nightmares. Yeah. What? I
Certainly a
don't
way to
know.
put it.
I don't know what the hell that was, but Jesus, I was like, what the fuck is that? As far as the rest of it though, it's definitely a Jeff Johns story, but not in a bad way. It's good Jeff Johns. It's got that old school JSA feel to it, uh, while being blended nicely with some of today. I don't really have a lot of complaints, just one note. With this many characters, it's important to remember that they don't all need equal screen time just to make them included. Not everybody needs a dialogue bubble. That's how you start on your path towards a Bendis Legion book, and nobody wants that. But that wasn't overly done here. It's just a note that I worry about for the future. The art fits the story very nicely, and the story was pretty dang fun. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Right on. All right, and that will lead us to another set of teenagers. There's a lot of kids in this Quick Bites section, and also the last book of the Quick Bites section for today. It is Batgirls number 14, and Brandon will tell us what's going on with them today.
Sure. Although there's not too much to tell, honestly, as
No.
this issue has a rather interesting spin to it. This is Batgirls number 14, as Rob said, written by Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad, with art, colors, and letters very impressive from Jonathan Case, and letters. Oh well, I just said that. I don't know why. I was anticipating doing another one. But yeah, no. Suffice it to say, there is not a whole lot to say about this issue, just given that pretty much most of it is entirely silent, and can be boiled down to a very simple description, which is Cass, who is now returned to her body, as per the last issue, is on the hunt for Stephanie, who has been kidnapped by her father, Cluemaster, and the entire issue just really sees her making her way across the city and trying to track her down. The only point at which we really get any kind of large amount of dialogue is sort of towards the end, where Cass discovers a letter from Stephanie, basically, confiding in her all the things that she really appreciates about their friendships, and how much she appreciates having her in her life, and the sort of stuff that you would expect in their relationship. And rather tragically, Cass makes her way all the way to the Stone Fence cabins at the other side of Gotham, only to find Stephanie apparently dead. Although, of course, if we know anything about our if we know anything about our superheroes, it's that they probably will not be dead for long. But yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for silent issues, especially ones that can really hammer in a strong emotional beat.
Yeah, me too.
And
Yep.
I think this one did a pretty great job of it. And also is kind of a fun throwback to some of the older Cass Kane books, which were mostly wordless. Her original Batgirl series, I should say. So it was, I don't know if it was a reference to that, but it kind of made me think of that, which is very cool to see. So really nice emotional story and hell of a cliffhanger, though. Again, I expect Steph will be fine in the long run of things. So looking forward to seeing what happens next. But I gave this one an 8.5 out of 10.
All right, right on. What about you, Rob? What did you think about Batgirls number 14?
Sorry, I was actually scrolling back up to my notes because I went too far down. Yeah, I by the time I realized it was a silent issue, maybe 6, 7 pages in, I was like, "Ooh, a silent issue! Yay!" I love them too. They can be a lot of fun and very emotional with the right story, and this one definitely was. There have been, I think, and I have always talked about a Batman and Robin number 18 from the New 52
Mm-hmm.
might be the best silent issue I've ever read, but this one is still really, really, really good. And I really hope that last page does not mean what we think it means. I know, Brandon, as he said, uh, as we all know, comic characters tend to not actually stay dead, but fuck, there's so many this month between Iris and and Steph now, and who knows what else is going to happen in Lazarus Planet. So I just hope that at least these two survive. 8.75 out of 10 from me.
My thinking on this is that the only real uh, voice that we hear through it is basically Stephanie's almost like a slash. Sorry about this. Almost like a suicide note. Like, hey, this is all this shit. I'm really sorry that this happened. I love you. Don't tell Bruce. But I feel like with that kind of foreshadowing, we're not looking at a dead Stephanie. I think we're looking at, she's under drugs or she's hooked up or she's, barely clinging to life. I hope that she's not dead because we don't need a reincarnation just after we had so many not too long ago. But okay, so the story. What happens in here, I like it. But my bone with this issue is that I just don't like the art. And with what is pretty close to being a wordless issue, at least mostly, you should have spectacular art behind it. And for me, this just wasn't it. I am really looking forward to next month's issue because I want to see where this goes. But again, the lack of dialogue in this book to showcase art, that's how it's usually done, and it it just did not work. It kind of sunk the issue for me, but the emotional beats is what kept this book alive for me. So it earned a 7 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Just did
All
not
right.
like the art. Ooh.
All right, so that is the end of our Quick Bite segment for today. And with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with Not a Robot. I know you did. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Obviously, you're still
If you-
here.
If you can hear me, I know you're here.
You
And
made
not
it.
in a creepy way.
Congratulations.
Just stick around. All right, so I hope I don't sound like really
I can
weird
see
when I do
you.
that.
Nice pants.
Oh yeah, I love the blue pants. And for the
Yeah.
people wearing blue pants, I hope that felt weird. All right, so this is now our spotlight section for the day. We're gonna shine a bright light over onto a couple of books that are pretty bright on their own. I don't think we really need to shine a spotlight on them because we can see them in the darkness, starting off with the new champion of Shazam, number 4. And Josh is going to tell us how this ends. Aren't you?
And it will, the very last issue of this 4-issue mini, written by Josie Campbell with art, colors, and cover all from Doc Shaner with lettering by Becca Carey. Mary wants Fawcett evacuated and puts Pedro, Freddy, and Eugene on that, as she tells them that none of this is their fault and she'll bring everyone back, and she says that right before she flies out of the window to do just that.
And I think you should preface, she transformed into Shazam before she flew out of the window.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
she didn't just jump.
No. That's important to know.
Yeah.
So she takes off. She's looking for Darla and finds Dr. G, who sets up some gnarly looking crocodiles to go after her. She goes through those just to have to go up against some super powered teacher's assistants. Those TAs, they call her Shazam and say some other sexist shit. So she leads them on a small chase before, I want to say, letting them capture her, because they don't seem to overpower her. She says Shazam, and they get hit with the juice. She runs as Mary and finds all of those who were kidnapped, like her family, Darla, and the dean of the college she goes to. Oh, and surprise, Dr. G is actually Dr. Georgia Savannah, the daughter of Dr. Savannah, longtime Shazam nemesis. She has developed technology she calls Magitech, very creative, by reverse engineering the magic of the Rock of Eternity and merging it with technology. Ooh. The Circle of Endings, she calls it. It drains pieces of magic that resides within everyone, puts it into a battery, and then whoever is wearing that battery gets the magic inside. Surprise, surprise, again, Dr. G is wearing several of them. So Mary Shazams and blows up all of the bad stuff, but none of the good stuff, including the people, who all return to normal. Dr. G makes one last stand, but gets taken out by Hoppy biting her on the ankle. Hoppy the magic rabbit. All is well and everything is good until Mary sees a strange, huge green light with 3, I guess, Billy Shazams that tell her to stay away. So, of course, she Shazams and takes off to Washington. Why Washington? We don't know. We're not told at all, but she knows that's where she needs to go save Billy. Shaner's art is off the chain. I love it just like I usually do. It's hard to find any fault with his stuff. It always looks so great and consistent. And while I wish this wasn't the end of her title, I did really enjoy it. They made it her own adventure while managing to include Shazam fan service, like crocodiles for one, and magical animals helping out for another. And they did that without making it feel like they just shoved her into one of Billy's stories, which impresses the shit out of me. And they wrapped all of it up that was going on in one issue without feeling like it was crammed. The daughter of Dr. Savannah I could have lived without, especially with all the pro-female tone that was in this book. And then they just invent a character so that she's got a girl to fight. That was kind of fucked up. But regardless, I did have fun with the series, and with this issue, I would definitely recommend this for a short read because it's a fun one. It got an 8 out of 10 for me. Brandon, how about you?
It was fun. A little bit of a, I don't know. I don't want to say weak ending, but maybe lackluster is the better word. But still a fun series overall. But I think it just kind of that abrupt, like you said. I mean, it did wrap stuff up, but it did feel a little abrupt to me. And then sort of the urgent "I need to be in Washington" ending was a little odd for me. It felt like it really
Right.
should have just ended in its own corner. But I know they kind of have to tie into everything that's going on with Lazarus Planet right now. But like you said, the art from Shaner is outstanding, which is to be expected, and it's a fun miniseries. I don't know that it will really hold that much weight in the future. I mean, I'm sure now that Mary is the champion of Shazam, but I guess we'll see. But it did feel, I don't know, maybe a little bit like an unremarkable ending. So I gave this a 7.5 out of 10.
You got some valid points there.
Yeah. I kind of agree with all of the above. I think Mary is great and should stay in this role. There's been a great push for her recently across all sorts of titles, Elseworld and otherwise. Don't retcon this, DC. Just keep this status quo for a while, okay? Billy may be getting his own book soon, but just from what we've seen about it so far, I don't think it's going to interfere with the fact that Mary is currently Shazam. So don't let it. Just keep her there, please.
Be
Savannah,
interesting to see what happens.
yeah. Savannah, I think, also was a little uninspired, but I'm also not against it. And for a first big villain as a newish hero, not bad. I think it kind of fit the bill. Shaner's art, again, I will say, fantastic. And my issue with the ending was a little kind of, I don't want to say lame. It just felt off. For me, it was mostly Billy shows up in the sky to tell Mary, "Hey, don't come here." What the hell do you think she's gonna do, Billy? She didn't even know you were in trouble. You show up, hey, don't come find me. I'm fine. What the hell do you want me to do?
Stay away.
Like, come on. So, however she figured she needed to go to Washington is beyond me, but that little bit just kind of threw me for a loop. Of course she's going to come find you, Billy. Shut up. So, with everything said, 8.5 out of 10. I think a solid miniseries that is definitely worth your time. And
Very
speaking
well.
of Lazarus Planets, we are getting into our Lazarus Planet issue of the week with Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton, one shot number 1, 2023 special edition. Before I get into this, I do want to ask you guys your opinion on how I should read this, because there are 4 short stories in this, and I've written summaries for each of them. Should I go through the whole book at once and then we talk about it after, or should we have a brief discussion about each story before I go into the next one?
What do you think, Brandon? I'm good with either.
It might be helpful to maybe just do all the stories and then talk about them at the end,
Right.
because I'm sure we might have more to say about some stories than others. Well,
Fair.
you guys might. Like I said, I haven't really had the chance to catch up on the Lazarus Planet stuff, but that's just my 2 cents between the two of you guys. But if you want to go story by story, that's also cool.
I'm good with either way. I was initially planning to just read it all at once, but then I was kind of second guessing myself. So I will just go ahead and read it all at once.
There you
Excuse
go.
me
Decisive action.
while I just get ready, because it's a lot of reading ahead. All right, so to start off, this cover, gorgeous cover I might add, was from David Marquez and Alejandro Sanchez, and that leads into our opening story from Nicole Maines, writing with art from Skylar Patridge, colors from Nick Filardi, and letters from AndWorld's Morgan Martinez. It is Dreamer. Nia Null has a dream that suddenly ends as if nothing happens after it. She dreamwalks to where Batman and Robin and Supergirl are to find out what's going on, and after they explain about the Lazarus volcano and the magical artifacts, she dreamwalks to where the Helm of Fate is through the mind of Khalid Nasur, and wakes up in a pool of Lazarus resin holding the Helm of Fate. Next story, not follow-up. John Kent is written by C.S. Pacat, with art from Scott Godlewski, colors from Alex Guimarães, and letters from AndWorld Design. John stops a petty burglar as the Lazarus rain starts, which electrocutes John, making him pass out, and the burglar is given lava based powers. When John wakes up, he heads out to help people, and the burglar decides to join him. And by the end, the burglar, now named Ash, hints that his powers are gone, but secretly they are not, and steals John's cape in the process. Next story is about Mercy, Lex Luthor's bodyguard, written by Frank Barbieri, with pencils from Sammy Basri, inks from Sammy Basri and Vincente Cifuentes, which I love that name, colors from Hi-Fi, and letters from Dave Sharp. Mercy Graves is doing her job protecting Lex from the storm, despite the fact that Lex does not believe it's a problem. Typical conservative. Sorry. She is hit by... Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Tell me how you really feel.
It's actually, that's funny. I was thinking about that earlier. I don't know why. I was in preparation for something else. I was going over Action 1050 again, and I just had this wild harebrained idea. I was like, if I ever got the chance to write Superman, like for an extended amount of time, what would my Lex Luthor be like? And I pictured like sort of like fiscal conservative, kind of like a Donald Trump type, except before any of that stuff. And I just had like a whole long pitch about what that would be. And now in some alternate universe where that happens, I really want to see what that would look like.
That'd be great.
My fully, fiscally conservative Lex Luthor.
And maybe
you might not have to wait very long.
You could take that fiscally conservative Lex Luthor and have him start World War Lex.
Oh my god, yes. And you would be the first person I'd call for that. You and Josh. The three of us would write that crazy story.
That'd be amazing.
Be amazing.
Just a footnote. I try to avoid getting into political conversation, but I felt that was just perfect. I had to throw it in there. Lex Luthor just screams conservative, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to start a political debate with anybody. Where was I? Right, so Mercy, in her protection, is hit by a lightning bolt through the window and ends up touching a Lexosuit, which gives her body a techno-organic upgrade. Some experimental beasts that are also being affected by the storm break loose within LexCorp Tower, so Mercy heads down to the floor that they are attacking and uses her new abilities to take them out and save the staff. And finally, Power Girl is written by Leah Williams with art from Marguerite Sauvage, letters from Becca Carey, and that's it. So there's only 3 titles. I was expecting 4, even though I wrote it down. So Power Girl was helping to take down Silverhorn King during the events of Lazarus Planet Alpha, but is instead teleported away into a dreamlike world which showcases some potential fears she has in her subconscious. After forcing her way through the world, she ends up in front of none other than Omen of the Titans. Omen helps Karen realize she is now telepathic with newfound abilities, and together they fly off to help the world with the current storm. And you can see where they go in Action Comics 1052 going forward. Okay, so I did not score each story. I just scored the whole book, so I'm not going to score each story personally. Starting with Dreamer, though, interesting setup. I am curious to see how big of a player Dreamer will be for Lazarus Planet, considering it's just a series of one-shots, which is a very interesting way to have an event. I'm very curious to see how she will play out, how her story will play out. And I'm all for just more Dreamer going forward. Like, keep this character coming. I'm all for it. John Kent
looks like she may be the next Dr. Fate.
Oh damn, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. With John Kent's story, I like Jay in Son of Kal-El, but Ash is just so much more exciting for John. I don't know if you guys got that vibe, but their connection certainly seemed flirty. So
yeah,
if that's the direction they're going in, I'm all for it. Yeah,
I was like, they were fucking flirting.
Jay's great, but Ash is awesome. With Mercy was very unexpected. I am wondering where that will lead. Mercy's kind of a very underutilized character, so this was just surprising. And with Power Girl, Interesting new power for Power Girl. Did not expect telepathy, and I'm curious now: is her name going to live up to a new standard? Is she going to have many powers and be Power Girl instead of just Power Girl? You know, maybe that's just
Power
me.
Girl slash Supergirl clone.
Yeah, or Powers Girl. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh God.
it doesn't roll off the tongue. Yeah. All in all, though, overall, I actually had a note for overall. Good art throughout. I felt interesting stories, but has that one-shot feel of temporary changes. I'm curious how long this is all going to matter, and not in the confines of the events, but are they going to lose their newfound powers by the end of Lazarus Planet, or is something going to stick around? We know there's a whole host of new characters coming, but to me, it just feels like they're not really going to last. Like the New Age of Heroes, or DC's Young Animal, where these characters kind of just faded away into obscurity, with the exception of one or two. So that's just the vibe I'm getting. For this whole issue, though, I gave an 8.25 out of 10. Fairly enjoyable.
Brandon.
Oh, I said I didn't get a chance to read
Oh,
this one.
that's
I haven't
right.
caught up on the Lazarus Planet stuff.
I forgot. All right. So as far as me, I mean, I was just reading this book, and then I don't know what happened. It seems really ambiguous to me with what happened at the end with Dreamer, the Helm of Fate, and her erupting from the Lazarus pit. I feel like it was supposed to be a shocker. I feel like it was supposed to be impactful. And instead of going, whoa, I went, which is not the reaction I imagined they were going for. It looks great, but this it felt way too long for what it was and for what happened in it. I felt like it was kind of boring. It is good to see Dreamer in a comic. It's good to see Damian and Batman back on the same side again, but it was kind of boring, though it did again really look good. The second story, the wonky power stuff from Monkey Prince carries over, does the exact same thing to John as it does to Kara, but it also gives them electric powers. The shoplifter gets superpowers, but not turned into a monster like everybody else in Metropolis. So there is progression, there's setup, there's great art, and I really want to believe that this will go somewhere good. My fingers are crossed, but it's more like I guess we'll see situation. Speaking of seeing, I didn't mind looking at the art in this story either. I think it was some of Godlewski's best work in this story here. The third one, it looks very, very good. Sam Basri whoops ass like usual. You can almost expect it. And Mercy Graves gets turned into Lazarus Cyborg. Help me out. Wasn't she at one point already a cyborg or an android or whatever already? Like, I know that I've seen that. I just can't remember where.
Unless you're getting her...
It's in the Young Justice show. Okay, all right.
Okay.
All
I was going to say, unless you're getting her confused with Lena Luthor.
No, it wasn't Lena Luthor. I knew it was Mercy. I just couldn't remember where. Thank you for reminding me, Brandon. And then the fourth story, it's Marguerite Sauvage art. So if you like that, you're gonna like this. It tends to be right on the line for me, though. I don't hate it, but I'm not really a fan of it either. And Power Girl gets psychic powers and is now besties with Omen. Seems just like something to throw at the wall to see how long it will stick. And like Rob said, I feel like this is gonna be a show it up and use it, and then it'll be thrown away again because we just needed a plot device. That one was probably the least impressive of the stories, story and art wise. Overall, it wasn't bad. The art for the most part was pretty damn good. The whole thing felt like some kind of multi-part setup issue, which wouldn't be a problem if this was the first issue of Lazarus Planet, but it's not. the story's there already. This was a lot of, I mean, I guess potentially important stuff to happened, but it was really just thrown in as with a very, very light story built around it. And for me, for what this book should be, I'm really not impressed. I'm rounding it up because of all of the great art that's in it. Even with Savage, who I'm not a fan of, but she is on point with the style that she has, and that is 100%. But overall, man, I got to give the issue a 7 out of 10.
Fair enough.
I try to be.
Yeah. Which is, I think, is what we're here for. All right. So with that, we can shut off the spotlight for tonight. Bruce can go to bed because the sun is up.
Well, I was going to do a chicken noise, but I'm not doing one.
And that will bring us to our full dive review section for the week. Starting off with, speaking of Batman, Batman Superman World's Finest number 11. And Josh, I believe you're going to tell us what's going on over there.
You believe correctly. Written by Mark Waid with incomparable art inside and out from Dan Morrow, colors from Timer Bonvillain, who also struts their stuff in this issue, does some amazing color work, and Steve Wands did the letters. So this is how the issue goes down. We start out a half an hour ago getting to see the Key pull all of David's memories from him, including the location of Superman's fortress, which is what he was after. We then switch to now with David in trouble for nearly killing the Joker, and, well, he would have if he wasn't stopped by the others, as the Titans take care of the Joker, rushing him to the hospital to save his life, because that's a great idea. Batman has a sidebar with Clark and says, okay, time to realize the kid is a walking time bomb. Robin goes with Superman, and they take David away to the Fortress of Solitude. They do so to throw him in a machine designed to take his powers away. Superman wants to help him, but first he has to make sure that he is safe for the public. And he does just that. But no, then he changes his mind. He's not going to do it. He blames himself for David having uncontrollable anger, which is some fucked up logic there. Makes me wonder if Lois doesn't beat Superman. Superman's entire zoo at the Fortress of Solitude has been set loose, and it's because the Key is there. And he's not alone. He brought with him quite the weird crew: Bag of Bones, Acid Monster, the Acid Master, the Abominable Snowman, Ferlin Nixley, and Zebra Man. Robin and David are left to face them all, while Superman goes to reign in the zoo. I mean, you gotta have your priorities in order, right? The strongest guy goes take care of the pets. But hey, anyway, the Key himself manages to trick Superman into flying into the same chamber that took away David's powers, and he does it for Superman. David didn't feel anything when he got placed in the chamber, but it seems very painful to Superman, and he's left real messed up on the floor, leaving David as the only one with powers. The Key goes after the shuttle that David came in, the spaceship, I guess, as David goes after him, but it seems that when the Key pulled out those memories, he also planted a hypnotic suggestion that freezes David in place. Superman and John go out after the Key, but Zebra Man traps them in a force field. The Key is about to blow David to pieces with what looks like one of Marvin the Martian's deatomizers. And just as he's about to do so, Batman shows up, kicks the Key, applies a pressure point hold on David to reset his nervous system like a Nintendo, and of course David promptly goes after the Key and is, of course, ready to kill him. Superman tells him that he's better than that. David asks, "How do you know?" And Robin says, "Because Superman doesn't lie." And that's enough for David to stop. That's all he needed to hear. Immediately afterward, David and the ship are getting ready to go through another multi-dimensional shift as Superman starts saying, "It's not fair, and I'll come find you, David, I promise." Poof, David's gone. Robin says, "Don't worry, we'll see him again." Why? Because Superman never lies. Where does David get shifted to? Right in front of Gog, and we already know where that is going. So, okay, this wasn't a bad issue, but I feel like, and I know a lot of people might disagree with me here, especially when I said that this is half of what I liked about the earlier issues of the series, but this felt, just the Superman character, it felt a little too classic Superman for me. His goofy logic and his priorities kind of seemed like Golden Age Superman here in this, and while I don't mind it, it was just a little over the top for me. Also, like having Superman's refuge animals even show up, that was kind of weird. There were other things that could have happened. I feel like these complaints aren't super huge, but they do affect my opinion. Dan Mora and his art is a master class in how to hold a pencil. It's absolutely beautiful work. Watching him draw the Dawn of DC series with all the different characters in it, I think, and I'm probably right, I'm going to love looking at it as much fun as he had drawing it. I think, and it's... I don't know how much of it he's drawing, but I know he did the promo art, and it is completely beautiful. Overall, it's a pretty good book with a few problems, admittedly. So, World's Finest walked away with a 7.75 from me.
Damn. Well, I'll start off with Superman. I thought it was very interesting to see Superman question himself when he was going to take David's powers away. Because as I'm realizing, like this is a younger Superman who at the time was still learning the hero biz. So I think that was a well placed moment. And to counter your point about how it's a very golden age, silver age Superman with the idea. Well, that's to me that's kind of the point, because it does take place in the past and it should take place during that era. So I appreciate that Mark Waid is pushing that type of Superman ideal, because it's kind of fits the date. I wouldn't expect modern day Superman to exist however many years ago this takes place. That to me that would stick out more, and I wouldn't like that. But that might just be me. I like the dating of this.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah. As much as I enjoyed this issue, because I think this was another great issue, I think I am more excited for the next one, because they promised the secret date of Robin and Supergirl. I can't friggin' wait. That's gonna be fun. And as we know now, we saw, you say unnecessary, but it's gonna be great. It's been teased since issue 1. I can't wait. Yeah, so we see the rise of Magog, and as we know, it is not the end, as was stated at the end of the issue. And if you do want to see the continuing adventures of David, check out Kingdom Come #1 in stores May 22nd, 1996. Get your time machines, or just go pick up a trade. You know, it's out there somewhere.
No. Get the time machine. It'll be more authentic that way.
It's more fun. Yeah. And
definitely,
and quite honestly, I know it came out in May 1996. I could not find an actual date. I'm assuming the 22nd, because I think Kingdom Come is 22, and the 22nd of May 1996 was a Wednesday. So I'm just kind of piecing that together. I'm assuming that's when issue 1 came out.
Fairly good hypothesis, Rob.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
and it didn't take you too long to figure that out either.
Yeah. Dan Mora, what more needs to be said? Man's awesome. 9 out of 10. The art's stellar. I really enjoyed the issue. This is a great book. I've enjoyed every arc so far. It does not need to end. Yeah, keep it going. All right, Brandon.
Yeah, this book continues to be a delight, and I think this as a closer for this arc was, still a great deal of fun, despite how violent and horrific some of the moments were. But it's still a fun read. So I don't know what that says about us, but yeah, just I mean, I would say I'm looking forward to what's coming next. But as Rob pointed out, and I had to catch myself as well. I was like, well, I mean, I kind of already know what happens next because it happened in a book called Kingdom Come that came out almost
Yeah.
30 years ago. So it's not really like, oh wow, I can't wait for the next arc of World's Finest where Magog comes back and deals with the heroes. No, that already happened. You can read about it
Yeah.
in Kingdom Come. So it's like, oh yeah, I guess this. I don't really have to think about it like that. But it's fun in that way. That, oh yeah, we kind of already have the story. This is just sort of filling in the gaps, which is nice. So
Yeah, no,
great series.
they're gonna reboot it, and this time Ross is gonna write and Wade is gonna draw.
Well,
Oh,
that'll be
Talk
a
about
time and a half, I'm
buzzwords.
sure. Yeah.
Holy crap.
But yeah, no, just great series, great art, as Rob and Josh have already pointed out, and I even though it may be a filler, I'm also excited for the next issue, which will be exploring the disastrous date between Robin and Supergirl. So hopefully that's a time and a half as well. But got an 8.75 out of 10 for me.
I, I think what I'm most excited about with the next issue, and the reason it's speaking to me on so many levels, there's been a lot of discussions online in the past couple of months about with the rise of Legacy is what's your favorite uh, Batman Superman family pairing, and then they go like with Nightwing,
Tim
they're
Drake and
constantly
Connor.
pairing. Well, there's that. But when they're pairing it off, they constantly pair Nightwing or Dick Grayson with Supergirl because they were around in the same era. But realistically, they did not really spend any time together. They were not on a team together. They didn't adventure together in the Silver Age or anything. They
No,
did not do anything together.
no,
So it's really
no,
weird to
and
call them a pairing. And that's why I'm so excited for
honestly,
this because it's a pairing we do not see.
yeah, if I had to line people up, like up until John, I don't think that there really was a pairing in the super family for Dick.
No.
Not at all. Tim and Connor all day long, Clark and Batman 100%.
Yeah.
I almost feel like Kara and this is going to sound a little crazy, but I feel like Kara and Lois Lane have quite a few traits in common, though Lois has a little bit more of a calmer state of mind.
Yeah.
But definitely not
Uh,
Dick, not till John showed up.
no. Realistically, yeah. Because I think there was Superman and then there was Supergirl, but then she always got paired up with Batgirl for reasons, I'm sure. So yeah, Dick really never had a super friend.
Ooh, Batwoman is
That's
probably
that
the better
sounds
choice.
sad. For Supergirl?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that, but they've like Batgirl and Supergirl, Kara and Barbara have always teamed up in the past when there has been a Bat Super team up. I don't know about always, but at least in the past 20, 30 years
Yeah.
that I know of. Uh,
There's always
all right,
room
well,
for change.
that's enough of stuff that didn't happen.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a fucking hour.
Yeah. So on to something that has happened. The Flash number 791. This
In 10
is
seconds.
the 1 Minute War Part 2. Yes. And this is written by Jeremy Adams with pencils from Roger Cruz, inks from Wellington Diaz, another name I really like, colors from Luis Guerrero, letters from Rob Lee, and a gorgeous cover from Torrin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
We open where we left off at the end of 1 Minute War Part 1, pretty much exactly because this all takes place in a minute and maybe picoseconds have passed since the issue ended. So the grand spaceship from the aliens whose name escaped me has landed in Central City, and hundreds, if not
The Fraction.
thousands, are dead. The Fraction, thank you. Everything is just laid to waste. There are people in peril all over the place, but they don't even know it because they're frozen in time.
Or
Except
dead.
for the
There's
speedsters.
thousands of people that are dead.
Yeah,
It
it's
says.
insane. Um, yeah. The speedsters are still moving around, though, as Wally and Linda collect themselves outside their house. They find Iris, or Irie, I should say, because this will get confusing later if I say Iris.
Yep.
Irie is trying to move Jay, who saved them by catching a tree, but now he's also frozen in time. So the three of them try to figure out what's going on. As as in Central City currently, excuse me, at the Spire, Impulse and Kid Flash are trying their best to enter, but it is too smooth for them to run up and too dense for them to phase through. And as they're trying to figure out their next plan of attack, the wall begins to open as Jay catches them and pulls them behind a wall, and some floating tanks, it seems, come out of the wall, as well as some flying ships with lightning bolts for wings. And as Jay mentions, this is no invasion, this is war. And who better to say it's war than somebody who has been in war himself? I thought that was a very nice touch. Wally is now racing through Central City, surveying the damage and trying to figure out what the hell happened as he comes across somebody actually talking, and he is curious as to who it is, but it is none other than Barry holding Wally's dear Aunt Iris, who is potentially dead. Barry is crying, and now Wally is too, and together they run off, taking Iris. But before they can get too far, one of these ships finds them, so they start racing away and split up, where Wally does what he can to get rid of the ship, exploding it, and it crashes into a building, to which I was thinking, well, there goes another dozen people.
Kaboom.
Good job, Wally. Yeah. But he does have a badass action movie line with "Enjoy your visit." Yeah.
Enjoy
Fuck
your
you.
visit.
Yeah. Get shit on, aliens.
I'll be back.
Right on. All right. So meanwhile, Jay, Bart, and Wallace are holding down the fort, taking cover behind a wall, and they are getting attacked by blasts of electric energy. Jay realizes one is heading right for them, so they duck and cover, and they are now surrounded by the fraction. But before they can get too far, Tank kind of flips over and falls on all the soldiers as Jesse Quick arrives, which I'm kind of surprised at because I did not think she had the strength to flip a tank. That was her husband, but we'll get into that. So Jesse Quick has arrived.
Speedsters technically have an insurmountable amount of strength. What is it that they call Barry's punch that he does, where he travels so fast that it increases his mass?
Yeah.
So technically, speedsters
called. Infinite punch or something like that.
Some shit like that. But technically, all of them should have that.
But and I get all that, but the fact that there's a whole speed thing going on that I'm thinking about. These people are already moving fast, and then how fast the speeds? How fast do you have to? There's a lot of science that doesn't exist that I need to talk about. But that is for another time. I'll digress for now. Jay is very happy to see Jesse Quick, and as Jesse mentions, her and Max Mercury have run into them before when they were looking for Barry in a previous issue on another planet. They ran into a group called the Fraction that looked just like the ones that are in front of them, including the Spire, with an MO very similar to the ones they fought before. Meanwhile, this version of the Fraction are surveying their efforts so far, and as is apparently usually the case with every planet they conquer, there is usually a conduit character on the planet, and they usually take that person or kill them and steal their Speed Force connection to add it to their arsenal. But as one of these soldiers or generals or whoever these people are bring out information, there is a lot of organic conduits, at least 5 or more. And as the lead Fraction member, we have yet to get names or ranks for any of these people.
I want to call
gets-
him the common denominator.
Oh God, I like the multiplier.
There you go.
Yeah, so he gets very excited that
Math
there is
jokes,
now
gotta love it.
at least 5 speed conduits on this planet. Not only just on this planet, but surrounding them currently. As he says, we will capture those 5 and they will make a fine wedding present for the Empress, which you will find out who that is and what that means in a future issue. I believe it's the next part of this story arc. Flash, the 1 Minute War special, is a one shot, I believe, coming out in 2 weeks. So together they head off to find the speedsters. Meanwhile, there is one lone scout from the Fraction out in the desert for some freaking reason, trying to figure out, I guess, of surveying of the land for whatever reason. But he's being chased by something very quick, and he does not know what it is until we see it's Max Mercury, who catches him, crashes his bike, and then electrocutes him. There's a lot of stuff going on, but he seems to be dead. So Max races off to Central City towards the Spire to figure out what's going on. And back at the West House, Jay, Jesse, Bart, and Wallace have arrived to find Linda and Irie together. And they're all hugging it out as Max arrives, and Bart gives Max a big hug. They have a little discussion about what Max was doing, but then we see Barry and Wally walking back to the West House with Barry holding Iris in his arms, and they all realize what has happened, and Barry just takes her inside. Meanwhile, back at the Fraction Spire, one of the Fraction soldiers has been tasked to release a person, a thing, a creature of sorts, who will hunt down the speed conduits. A character by the name of Miss Murder. Wasn't that a song by AFI? And this is where our issue ends. She looks very menacing and like a whole bunch of characters combined into one, and none of them I really like. So I'm gonna see where this goes. I just need to point out there is some Batman Who Laughs eyepiece gear going on with her head, and that's
a bit. Yeah, for sure.
Kind of curious what's going on there. So that's where our issue ends. That's to be continued, I believe, in the 1 Minute War special. Very exciting part 2. It's nice to see the team assembled and now the work truly begin. I still don't believe Iris is dead, but damn, Jay is a good man by offering to carry her the rest of the way. But at the same time, Jay, like, they're already at their destination. You're kind of too late. The whole issue, I think, boasts great art. It's fantastic to look at, fun to read. There are definitely some scientific questions, but you kind of just have to let it go when you're reading a book about the Flash and speedsters and the Speed Force and things going super, super fast, because it's not real science. And as we used to say on the Flash TV subreddit, Speed Force, I ain't got to explain shit. So I'm just gonna let that go. I'm digging this story arc so far. I think it's a lot of fun. While it is also deadly, I keep using that term very loosely when I say fun. I gotta start thinking of another word. But 9.5 out of 10. It's a great read. I like it so far. I'm curious to see where they're gonna go with this.
You almost said it's a fun read.
Yep.
Okay, so the title tells us that a week takes 10 seconds. The 1 minute war is going to be a long ass war. Like that's like 10 months or if something very close to that. Just a couple. There are thousands of people dead, and some of them are frozen. Thousands of people dead is a horrible way to end a barbecue. I'm very curious about what this little something extra is that's going on with Max Mercury. Obviously, we'll find that out later, hopefully, because Joshua Williamson isn't writing the Flash book anymore. We hear him talking about how he was trying to go further, and like I do believe that Max Mercury is trying to hit that Speed Force level, and they keep mentioning that we've got at least 5 conduits or people who can tap into the Speed Force. So we've got Barry, Wally, Jesse, Wallace, and Bart, right? Plus Jay. So there's 6. And I think that they may get captured or whatever. I think a whole crux of this is going to be Max Mercury finally getting tapped into the Speed Force as much as the others. If this fraction is so badass, and they really seem like they are, what do they need with a Miss Murder? And why does she look like a mix between Martian Manhunter and the X-Men's Storm? Or maybe this is the Miss Martian who laughs. I'm not sure, but it's a damn good issue. A Miss Martian who laughs would make sense because it's Miss Murder. But I think that it's a damn good issue. It's damn good art, just like you would expect to see in any Flash book. Have you ever noticed that? Like, you rarely, if ever, see shitty art in a Flash book. I mean, it's been years. So why do the rest of them have to suffer? Just something to think about. Anyway, I really like this. There's so much at stake, and it is such a Flash story. This one was easy to score. I gave it a 9.25 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a real treat for the Flash family, I would say, and it's definitely given me a lot of great moments between some of the members that we really love, especially seeing the relationship between Bart and Wallace, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I agree. It definitely feels like a Flash story, a classic Flash story. Kind of reminds me of one of my favorite Flash stories, which is kind of I would say one of the highlights of Mark Waid's run. Not Born to Run. I'm blanking on the name right now. Terminal Velocity, which is an excellent story. So yeah, no, really solid story. And I mean, stakes are only going to get bigger from here. Though, as a final point, I do have to say that the name Miss Misery?
Miss Murder.
Miss Murder is just a terrible name, and that costume is even worse. But it is what it is.
What did you give it for a score?
8.75 out of 10.
2 opinion polls. What do we think that the likelihood of this being basically Miss Martian who laughs?
It could be. I don't know. It just kind of looks like a generic 90s villain to me.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope that's what we have.
I think, just like a run-of-the-mill issue for our heroes, but just looks like things we recognize. I don't know. The design is weird.
Johns and Storm mashed up. That's what I got. But
Don Johnson.
All right. Storm. What do we think's up with Max Mercury? I'm very interested in this whole he's trying to go farther thing, and only him and Bart know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing, because I haven't read too much of the Flash comics and Impulse comics rather with Max in it, so I don't know too much about their history together, or really if
Bart
that's
was
something
living
we already know.
with Max in the Impulse series, and then when Max disappeared into the Speed Force around 2002, he ended up moving in with Jay and Joan, and that's right around the time that the Jeff Johns Teen Titans series started. And then he ended up moving to Titans Tower and all that stuff. But yeah, they have a history together. Max was sort of like a surrogate father to Bart.
Right. Is this the whole thing like kind of familiar then?
Yeah, it's just that they know each other, and then Max was always really in tune with the Speed Force. He was sort of the one that taught Wally literally everything he knows about the Speed Force. It's sort of why it reminds me of Terminal Velocity, because that's the first arc that introduces that concept. And Max is sort of the one that's giving him the history lesson. I'm not sure how much you guys know about Max's history, but I don't want
that's the one. Like I know
Yeah,
Bart and Max have a good
yeah. Well,
relationship.
basically,
I know
Max
about that, but I
Mercury
don't know
was
Max's history.
yeah, Max was a speedster from the I guess the Wild West times, you could say, and was just sort of testing his powers. Had discovered that he was connected to this larger speed power. And one day ran so fast that he fell into the Speed Force, and then the Speed Force chucked him out into like the 1930s, which is how they explain. Because Max Mercury was an old Golden Age character that was sort of forgotten and then resurrected during Mark Waid's run. But that's sort of why Max is like the authority on the Speed Force because he was the first one that actually entered it. So his whole thing is like sort of I imagine getting reconnected with that, but also just reestablishing that Max is sort of the master of the Speed Force. I think Wally used to call him like the Zen master of the Speed Force, which is
Zen
always
Master.
really funny.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
And that's why I'm so curious about what he means by going farther. So
yeah.
should be very interesting to see what happens here. Maybe we'll get the Forever Force back. Just kidding, that won't happen.
Oh boy. All right. So with that, we are gonna go on to our last book of the week, which is the biggest book of the week, and that is the special anniversary edition, Nightwing number 100. And in true form and fashion,
Woohoo.
the biggest Nightwing fan on the planet is gonna tell us all about that issue. Take it
It's
away.
always my pleasure. But yes, this is the big anniversary issue, Nightwing number 100, and in true anniversary form, this issue features a cavalcade of Nightwing artists, both past and present. Of course, written by Tom Taylor with art from Bruno Redondo in some of the larger scenes, but additionally features art from Scott McDaniel, Rick Leonardi, Eddie Barrows, Javier Fernandez, and Mikel Janin, who have all worked on Nightwing or Dick Grayson in separate capacities in the past, with inks from Carl Story, Ever Ferreira, Kyle Felipe, Joe Prado, and Rick Leonardi, I assume doing some of his own inks as well, with colors from Adriano Lucas and letters from Wes Abbott. Now, this is a behemoth of an issue, very large in size, but it actually reads pretty fast and kind of boils down
It
to
is.
a very straightforward story. So, if it sounds shorter than you might expect for an issue 100, trust me, it's just that the issue moves very quickly. But
Yeah,
essentially,
it's
this
like
is the
very
culmination of
fluid.
everything.
Yeah.
Yes, essentially, this issue is the culmination of everything that we've been building towards. Specifically, in the last issue, where Heartless revealed that he was gathering people for a big push on Bloodhaven now that there's a huge power vacuum after Blockbuster's death. And this is that move, as Heartless has infiltrated the Bloodhaven private prison and is rounding up all the prisoners after having freed them to serve his cause. He brings in some of the small time criminals and some of the big time criminals that Nightwing has faced quite recently, including none other than Anatoly Knyazev, aka KG Beast. He also releases a very forgotten Nightwing villain, but one that I laughed when I saw, the Elephant Man, to basically wreak havoc on all of
Right.
Bloodhaven, which was
Oh,
nice. So
jeez.
Nightwing gets the call from Oracle that every single criminal in Bloodhaven prison has been released onto the streets and is causing mayhem. And naturally, he takes to the scene to do what he does best and leap, maybe not always without knowing where he'll land, but knowing that he'll still leap regardless. And as he does, there's a beautiful sequence of all of the various costumes that Nightwing has had captured by some of the artists that worked on those eras, respectively, with the exception of Scott McDaniel, who obviously was not working, back in the 80s when Nightwing first had the disco wing suit. But he did do Nightwing Year One, so I figured it was a reference to that as well.
More than likely, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did obviously did the majority of the Nightwing series in the '90s, but I assume he was chosen to illustrate that page because he did Nightwing Year One and did a rendition of the Disco Wingsuit. Anyway, point is, Nightwing leaps into action, but instead of just beating down on all of the prisoners, he gives them a choice. He knows that a lot of them don't want to work with someone as horrible as Heartless. So rather than just throw them back in prison, he says, "Hey, if you help out in Bloodhaven with all this chaos, maybe we'll be a little bit more lenient with you." And just at that moment, the Titans show up and they're willing to give out a helping hand in Bloodhaven, which is also very nice. Nightwing giving out all the instructions, letting them all know where they need to be, and just giving the Titans the orders to best help out. But back in the Bloodhaven prison, Heartless is having a meeting with Tony Zuko, telling him he's a huge fan and talking about some of the plans that they might have for the future. Nightwing sees that and is like, yeah, that can't be good. But before he can intervene, he is football tackled by KG Beast, and they have their little showdown again, which is, I'm sure always good to see see KG Beast get his comeuppance. But while KG Beast is sort of gloating about, it's how could you possibly have the upper hand here? I have allies and I have, my goons who are working for me and you're outmatched. Nightwing sort of chuckles that off and says, you may have your goons, but I have the Titans. I have my best friends who are going to help me take you down without fail, which is nice. And they managed to do so and subdue KG Beast and the rest of the goons that he's working with, but unfortunately Heartless escapes before they're able to confront him, though not before leaving one last ominous message on the mask that he left behind. But just at that moment, who should show up amidst the chaos but Superman and Wonder Woman, who offer their services, but as Nightwing awkwardly tells them, they kind of already took care of everything, so there's really no purpose for you here. And they're like, well, that's actually a good thing because your handling of this is sort of why we're here and sort of why we want to talk to you about something. And then we get the speech that I'm sure all of us kind of expected after the events of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is basically they're passing over the mantle of leadership for the DCU, for the world at large, over to Nightwing to basically be the protectors. But he's not going to be leading the Justice League or anything as obvious as that. Rather, he's going to be, taking on leadership in his own way. But before he can do that, he has one last conversation with Bruce about the new leadership role, and they have a very emotional conversation, which is nice to see after everything that Dick has been through recently, that relationship is still strong. But back in Bloodhaven, after that very touching scene, he reveals to Melinda and Barbara that he has a plan for not just, Bloodhaven, but the world at large, and how sort of the big moves that he has moving forward. And about a month later, he holds a press conference revealing that while Bloodhaven has taken major steps forward in becoming a better city than it ever was, they want to extend that generosity to the rest of the world. And they're going to start by extending protection to the rest of the world. And that comes in the form of Titans, who are now making their new home base, Bloodhaven. So that's how we move forward with this new chapter of Nightwing, with the Titans now seated in Bloodhaven and acting as the protectors of the world at large. I guess taking the place of the Justice League, but obviously they're going to have their own spin on it. So this is the big culmination that everything has been leading towards, both in Dark Crisis and in Nightwing, which I feel is very fitting. But all in all, just a really stellar issue, a great celebration of Nightwing, great way to wrap up this power vacuum arc, and a great way to establish the future moving forward. We've seen Nightwing as a leader of the Titans countless times, but with the Titans as, I guess, the de facto leaders of the DCU, it should provide for a very interesting perspective moving forward. I don't know exactly what the former members of the Justice League are up to. I guess they're going to be going on a soul-searching mission or something to figure out what they're going to do next. But it'll be nice seeing the Titans step into this more direct leadership role. Now everyone's going to be kind of looking up to them for advice and all that stuff. So that's good to see. But really just a marvelous issue, a great celebration of Nightwing. Nice to see the artists of the past and the present lend their hand to this issue, and everything looked great. So I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to the future of Nightwing. So I gave this a 9 out of 10.
I suspect
yeah.
the next time we see the Justice League, it's going to be 1 year later. Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone? One? No. One. Remember that? No. Okay.
Wait, what? I need
that was a failed event anyway. 1 year later,
talking
about
about
the 2000s.
No.
1 year later thing?
No. It does sound like because they mention they mention more than once, if I'm not mistaken, the phrase "stay and defend Earth." So I'm thinking that the ex-Justice League members are going to be taking either like cosmic or extra dimensional journeys, and potentially Titans are gonna be the kind of like the new JL, but handling just Earth stuff, which I think is kind of
Could be.
cool.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, the cover, holy shit, what a well drawn cover.
Oh yeah.
This was great. I loved the whole damn thing. The conversation between Bruce and Dick at Alfred's grave was crazy good. Buying the prison and turning it into Titan's Tower, that's cool as shit. The whole damn thing was cool. Now I just need to see Heartless's teeth kicked in, and I am a happy man. There were a lot of artists on this one. Not all of them were perfect, but the quality of this entire book was just so high. I can definitely overlook that a little bit. I am so excited to see what happens next around Nightwing. And if I'm being honest, what we saw at the end of Nightwing, what we saw as far as seeds being planted on Lazarus Planet, and what we saw in New Champion of Shazam, it's setting up some very interesting stories, some very interesting premises, and bringing in characters that I had no inclination whatsoever that they would be taking prominent roles, and I hope that's what we get to see them continue to do. So, like I said, I'm excited to see what happens next, and I'm hoping that it's just as great, man. I gave Nightwing a 9 out of 10.
I am right up there with the art. There is great art throughout, but there was a little thing that kind of irked me. And I think it was the second artist. I don't know who did what in what order. I didn't get a chance to look that up. But I think it was the second artist when they were going through Heartless panels. The original Heartless design is very menacing. It's just half silver mask and a black jacket and a red glow coming out from the chest, and that's it. And everything else is just dark and shaded. But then the second artist drew Heartless, and what threw me is you could see his mouth and the color of his head and a bit of his hair, and it just took that character out a little bit. Like he was a lot less menacing now. It wasn't as scary, which I didn't like. It lost that appeal for me just in those panels. But then we got that back later on. So it was a little inconsistent there, which I didn't appreciate.
Seeing the teeth fucked with me too.
Yeah, it was really weird. I had to go back like, wait, what is this heart? Why does he have a mouth? So it was really weird, but I still enjoyed art throughout, just apart from Heartless at that one part. Throughout the issue, lots of great moments, and I think it was really cool to see the Titans step up as world protectors. It's about damn time. It's not realistically, it's not the first time, but I think it's the first time of this caliber, I would say, where it's just the Titans as the premier super team, and they're not called the Justice League or something, you know?
Yeah, no, obviously Brandon would know better than I, but I don't think that they've ever been set up for at least any period of time where they are just the team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brandon?
no, not to my knowledge. They've been the Justice League before. There was that brief Justice League run towards the end, right before the New 52, where it was essentially just the Titans as the Justice League. But, Dick was Batman, so he's kind of stepping into another role anyway. But, no, I don't think that the Titans specifically have been in a role like this where the Justice League are absent.
Yeah. And it's a hell of a team, too, to even include Wally in there. Like, you have a speedster. So that's already great. Like, you have the makings of a fantastic super team right there. I can't wait to see how they fare. There's a lot of promise going forward, I think, with this issue. Yeah, what's gonna happen with Zuko now? I think Zuko got away, didn't he? With Heartless, if I'm not mistaken.
If I'm not mistaken, I think you're right.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that too. Did Tony Zuko know that Dick Grayson is Nightwing?
No, and I think
he fucking does now.
Well, I thought that at first too, but then I went back and reread it, and anybody with half a fucking brain would be able to deduce what he was talking about, but he didn't come right out and say, you know, hey, Dick is Nightwing. So
Okay.
so I Zuko doesn't exactly have half a brain.
Timing of
so,
it really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're getting. So he's talking about Nightwing, and then he's talking about Dick Grayson. Okay, but that's the pacing of that was just so weird because he's still talking about it. He's hey, there's Nightwing, and he goes, I have plans for Dick Grayson. Okay, that's great, but I'm talking about Nightwing. Shut up about Dick Grayson. Like, that was weird too.
Right.
Okay, you know what? With that, it's losing a quarter point. It's 9.25 out of 10. It's still a great issue. For an oversized issue, lots of action, lots of fun, couple of iffy moments, but it really doesn't bring the book down, I'd say. Check it out. It's going to be a great era for Nightwing going forward.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah. All right. And if my calculations are correct, that is the books for the week. We did it. Oh God. I nearly broke into song. I'm going to be honest with you. Haley's been watching a lot of Dora the Explorer, so
Yay!
I nearly
We
broke
did
into
it.
that song. Oh goodness. Okay, children, man, kids shows. All right, so it's time for our top 3 and favorite moments, if you had one. All right, you guys. Josh, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I do. It was really hard for me. It was really hard for me to put to choose between second and third place because they both were fucking amazing. I gave third place to Nightwing, and I gave second place to the Flash just because of how really, truly Flash this is. And while the story in Nightwing was cool, ultimately, it was just the world's greatest setup issue. So that's why number 2 went to the Flash. And then number 1, that went to the Blue Wall. Such a fucking outstanding story. Personal, gritty, real world. And it still made me go, holy shit, without introducing something fantastic or fantastical to the story. Totally deserves a number 1 spot. There were a couple of cool moments that I dug in there. There was a lot of cool moments that were in this week. The psychedelic page of the key in The World's Finest, or the close-up of Supergirl's eye in The Monkey Prince. That was fucking absolutely incredible piece of artwork. But it was a little bit too much of an emotional reaction, but the conversation between Dick and Bruce at Alfred's grave, it made my eyes well up. I didn't cry. But they definitely got a little misty, man. They got wet for sure. That was very, very emotional. So that one I'm gonna give my favorite moment of the week to.
Right on. Hey, Brandon, what about you?
Number 3, I had Batgirl's number 14. At number 2, I had World's Finest number 11. But at number 1, no surprise, though, it's fitting for our 100th episode, I had Nightwing number 100, which, again, I felt like was a phenomenal issue. And I would also echo Josh's favorite moment, which is really that whole sequence between Dick and Bruce, because I think, the reason that one also kind of, I did not cry because I'm a man. Men don't cry. The reason that
go back and read that shit when you got kids, kind sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, men don't cry. No, I think the reason that one also kind of maybe made me feel a little choked up is just because it's rare that you ever see Bruce say I'm sorry, and he says it like 5 times. And it's that's like Nightwing's face is the perfect reaction, because if you ever hear Bruce say he's sorry, it means he's really, really genuine about it. So seeing that immediately get followed by a hug was very, very touching.
Yeah, because we've had those father-son moments with Tim lately. We've seen it with Damien extensively, but and we saw it with Jason back during Task Force Z, but we haven't had those moments with Dick yet. And I think that this was just the most fucking beautiful way it could have been done.
Yeah, well, we've had moments like that many times, of course. But again, it's nice to see it, reaffirmed, and then, it's nice to see, it's nice to see Bruce kind of really being, I guess, a little bit more apologetic about the ways that he's let him down, and just kind of admitting that even though he tried to do his best with Nightwing, he still kind of let him down in some ways, and that's really making yourself vulnerable. But anyway, I won't go with that moment because Josh kind of already selected that one, but I will give it to really just all the splash pages of the various Nightwing costumes, because as I've said many times, I am such a sucker for just callbacks to the various suits that he's had over the years, and this was pretty much every one. They didn't have them all. I noticed that the other 90s one, where he had the long mullet hair, was absent, but I'm willing to forgive because this was still a very cool sequence. And they actually had a very cool looking page of the Red Wing suit, which everyone hates, but I love that suit because it's awesome.
I don't hate it.
That's my favorite moment.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but I don't hate it.
The internet hates that suit. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, because it's like, it's sacrilegious because he's not wearing blue. But I love that suit. I love that run of Nightwing, and I will never let go of that.
It's
as a matter of fact, I think the only suit that he likes better is the Wallace's silver suit.
Oh yeah, no, that's my favorite suit of all.
Oh, what a suit that is. Yeah, no, the red was certainly a choice. I'm not against that suit. It was just really weird that they chose to make it red. But I don't think it's a bad thing. The suit looks good. All right, so for my top 3, number 3 I had World's Finest. Number 11 at number 2 I had the Nightwing. Number 100 and number 1 I just gave it away is the Flash. Number 791. Just based on scores alone, because I really did enjoy a lot of the books this week. And favorite moments, I also had a hug, but not the same hug you guys had. It's Bart giving Max a hug, because I thought that was really nice too. Kind of filled me with nostalgia of seeing those two, because we've seen a lot of Dick and Bruce together recently and having some father-son moments. As much as that was an amazing father-son moment, that did also make me a little misty-eyed. It's been a long time since we've seen Bart and Max have a moment together, so I thought that was really cool to see.
Yeah. I will say a runner-up moment I almost forgot to mention was in Flash when Bart is like, they're having, Bart and Wallace are having their moment, and Bart prepares to run and vibrate through the steel and doesn't do it.
Oh yeah,
just smacks against it. That was pretty funny. I got a chuckle out of me. And yeah,
that was a fun
classic Bart.
I need to see more team ups with Bart and Wallace though. They make a pretty fun team. They No?
Oh no, I agree. I agree. Yes. Yeah.
Even just like,
Wallace would be down for it too. Yeah. That way he stops getting called Ace, which I can't stand.
Yeah. I mean, Wallace is a long name. Like, they all have pretty short names. Wally, Barry, Max, Jay, Bart, Wallace.
So they have one or two syllable names. It's not like their names are Anatoly. I mean, they're still 2 syllable names, if not one.
Yeah. It's just like, Wallace is so long. We can't call him
It's
Wally.
2 syllables.
Get confusing. Yes.
Wally, Wallace. Which one took me longer to say?
Wallace.
Oh God. It's not the most superhero of names. I'll give you that. It's not the most superhero of names.
Yeah.
It's about as superhero name as Herbert. But
I feel like there was a hero named Herbert, though, but I'm not going to get into that. All
oh,
right.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. Well, folks, that was our favorite moments, and now it's time for your favorite moments. It's
The biggest thinker.
Oh, that's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
All right.
It's a good thing we're not in the
Fellas.
middle of a pandemic.
Oh yeah. All right,
Be all out of
fellas.
toilet
What
paper
made your
again.
stink list this week?
For me, completely opposite of you guys, because I felt like while there was some cool stuff in it, really a whole lot of nothing happened, and that was Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton.
Fair enough.
If it wouldn't have been for the emotion that was in Batgirls, though, because of the art that was in that, Batgirls would have been there.
Yeah, right on. Brandon.
I mean, none were particularly bad this week, but the lowest one I have is new champion of Shazam. So I guess that's the biggest stinker for me this week. Not a bad issue by any means, but definitely a little lackluster in terms of an ending.
Fair enough. Yeah.
This
as for
just
the books
in, Brandon is anti-feminist.
Yes,
my
that's
God.
true. Well, I mean, that was obvious by the way I said men don't cry. Clearly, I have outdated notions of gender.
Yeah.
Much like
Just
Max
for the re- just
Mercury,
for the
I
record,
also
Max.
traveled from the past into the future, except I came from the 1950s or something.
There you go.
Careful with time traveling to the 1950s. It's
Yeah,
incest, apparently, according to
yeah.
Doc Brown and Marty McFly.
Oh, I thought you were making a Futurama reference. And it became my own grandfather.
Technically, I am.
Don't
'cause
do that.
That Futurama episode is a reference to Back to the Future, so it all works out.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Right. For me, though, I rather enjoyed all the books that we reviewed this week. There was nothing I'd say was really stink-worthy. But in our honorable mentions for the books I read, Titans United Blood Sports, Blood
Bad.
Hound, sorry. Yeah.
Bad.
I'm just not feeling it. This Titans
The
book.
whole series.
I want a real Titans book. I feel like there's going to be some Titans United fans out there just cursing my name, the fact that I said that, but I don't care. I didn't like it.
Yep. This is like the sequel to a movie nobody liked. Because the first series was just, it wasn't that great to begin with. It was average at best, and this is just, it's not living up to the first one. So
Yeah, and just like the HBO Max Titan show, it just gets worse as it goes on.
you shush. Shut your face. Shut your face.
There's a reason I never finished season 3. I got bored.
So then how can you say that it gets worse as it goes on when you're not caught up? You're a season and a
I
half
got
behind.
bored.
I feel like after 3 seasons, that should give you a pretty good sign of where it's going. And if it's not great,
Yeah.
then you might need to tap out.
I mean,
It's like
it
me and
certainly
Arrow.
didn't have as bad a drop as the Flash did.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well,
First two
I think
seasons,
you made it a lot
fantastic.
farther than I did. I
That
got
was
to
it.
2, and then I said no more.
Really.
Arrow was the only one I
The
ever
first two
stuck.
seasons were good.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, Arrow was the only one that I ever stuck out the longest. I think I got to 3 or 4, and then that was as far as I could go.
I mean, that's
Just got
understandable.
goofy.
4 was disgustingly bad.
Yeah.
It-
Oh,
you-
yeah.
I will never get over that final fight scene.
Yeah.
with-
I will
Is
still
this
hold that the
weird to
first season
say?
of Arrow is really good. Like I could still
Oh,
go
yeah.
back and watch that at any point and be like, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
fucking phenomenal. It's a little schlocky, but yeah, even now I still feel like that holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
I know Holly didn't mind watching it, and she described it as the One Tree Hill of superhero shows. But
That's a
when-
fair description.
But she didn't mind it when Stephen Amell started doing the salmon hops.
Oh,
Or the salmon pull-ups.
Salmon ladder.
Yeah, salmon ladder. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, he made that exercise famous. He really did.
It's funny how Rob knew exactly what I was talking about right off the bat.
Oh, that was like the big draw of the first season. Like, okay, it's a superhero show. It's run of the mill. He's getting in a costume. He's shooting people with arrows. Okay, cool. Oh shit, he's doing what with a bar? Like that was cool to see. It was something a little bit different. Yeah, I liked that. Yeah. And he got that kind of full circle.
Rob was not watching that because of Stephen Amell's 12 pack.
Well, no, because you couldn't see his front when he was doing the same ladder, just his back.
He smacks his head. All right.
Yeah. I say things, and sometimes I wonder why I say them out loud.
Right.
That whole thing with Stephen Amell, the salmon ladder, though, it all came full circle, though. If you ever watched American Ninja Warrior, they had a celebrity edition. Stephen Amell was on it.
It's funny.
And he got to the end, and then he says, for charity, if I keep going, he wasn't supposed to, but he did, because the next event was salmon ladder, and he did it because it's his best friggin' exercise at this point. So that was fun to see.
Stephen Amell,
and he killed
was
it.
Also, Stephen Amell was also in the first season of New Girl. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that show. That's like one of my favorite shows.
Oh no, it's on my list to watch.
Yeah, and it made me laugh because I had seen that after I'd watched Arrow, and I was like, why the fuck is Oliver Queen in this sitcom about relationships? He was just like there. He was one of the boyfriends of one of the cast, and then well, I don't want to spoil too much, but the point is, I was just like, this is weird. Also, he has a buzz cut, but even more so than in the Arrow show, at least in the first season.
Oh gosh,
it's just very awkward at first. So that's a fun little Easter egg for you if you want to follow the actor.
It's like the same feeling I get when I watch not another teen movie, and I'm thinking, why is Captain America being such a dick?
I love that.
I'll edit that out later.
Difficulties there. Yeah. All right. Well,
what was that called? New Girl.
New Girl. Yeah. That's it was on Fox.
With Zooey Deschanel.
Zooey Deschanel and Jake Johnson and Lamorne Morris and all those guys. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Like a one-time crossover.
Oh shoot! What the hell is his name? Damn. But I can't remember what his name is. I'm sure you do. He's on the. He's got the bigger brown hair. But anyway, he's on The Neighborhood with Cedric the Entertainer now, and I love that show.
Yeah. Max Greenfield. Yeah.
Max Greenfield.
Which is funny because my dad watches that show, and he was like, he had it on the TV at some point, and I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind I was like, oh my god, what the hell is that? Schmidt, which is the character that he plays on New Girl, and I didn't realize he was in like another sitcom. But I heard the show it's about like the whitest family you can possibly imagine is like, moving in with, Cedric the Entertainer, who's like very, very black, we shall say. Reminded me of my family, and it's I've not seen it, but my dad was cracking up, so I assume it has to be pretty funny.
Oh, it's funny. It's funny as hell. You will laugh your ass off. You should check it out for real.
Okay.
You said the whitest family ever. It's a suburban principal, a TikTok addicted kid, and then Dave is what Greenfield plays, and he is a conflict resolution manager that really can't handle conflict very well.
Yeah, interesting.
It's fucking wonderful. That lives next door to Cedric the Entertainer's family, and you should just be able to pick right up what that means.
Yeah.
Oh my god, everybody's sarcastic, everybody's funny as hell. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know if you've ever seen Barbershop. I'm sure you have.
Oh god, yes.
But that's like when I think of Cedric, that's like my go-to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I'm old, so like I go to Kings of Comedy.
Oh, of course.
But yeah. Oh yes, love that stuff. Maybe Cedric the Entertainer will be in a comic book someday.
Oh my god, maybe Cedric the Entertainer will write a comic book.
Damn.
That would be neat. I would love to see what that looked like.
That'd be really cool.
Welcome to the
Alright.
block. Welcome to the hood. Welcome to the neighborhood.
How about this? If Cedric the Entertainer could write a comic book, what kind of comic book would it be? Or better question would be, what kind of comic book character would you want him to see in the DCU or Marvel? Up to you.
I would like to see Cedric the Entertainer's take on the Blue Marvel.
I want to see a really sassy Jon Stewart. I think he could pull that off.
Sassy.
Like for him to write as
Yeah.
a comic book.
He's very poignant. He's very sarcastic. He's very quick-witted.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to think about that. I do enjoy Cedric the Entertainer. It's been so long since I've really watched anything with him, so I need to refresh myself on Cedric.
Yep. In Marvel, I would choose the Blue Marvel, and then in DC, I would either choose him to write Static in the main DC universe or Wally the Flash. I think he would do fantastic in either one of those. Good, quick-witted, smart-ass characters, just like him. Anyway,
If
now
we're
that we're done
talking
talking about this
original
Screens
Kings of Comedy,
podcast,
though,
yeah,
and if we're talking like them writing comic book, I think I would love to see D.L. Hewley write a Lobo comic book.
I'm sure that would be fun.
oh my God, it would be the angriest comic book ever written.
You know who I want to see do Lobo? And this is going to sound weird, but it just kind of came to mind because of his whole aesthetic. But I think Rob Zombie would do a really fun Lobo series.
If it was like a reflective series where like Lobo's going through some character growth during some really fucked up shit happening,
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board with that, dude. 100%.
I'm all for it. Doesn't even have to be character development. Just have Lobo go through some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Like-
That's
like
what I want to
the-
see. Like how
the
fucked up could you
nightmares
possibly
of
make
Lobo.
it? Yeah.
Like everything Rob Zombie does has a big psychological fork in it, so that's why I was lining that up.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much potential out there that I don't think we will unfortunately ever get. But it's nice to dream.
Just like Nia Nal.
It's very nice to dream. Yes. All right, so with that is our show. Remember, you can help support us by going to buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcasts. Check us out on Twitter at NotARobotComics and subscribe to our Substack for bonus reviews, articles, and more. And as always, there's only one way we say goodbye around here. Until next time.
Be good to each other.
And don't be a robot.